Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Money in the Law, My FM 101.3 and the Holliston Cable Access TV. We are back. The summer is over.
It's over, all right.
And Money in the Law 2.0 starts today.
Wow, look at you. All right.
Here we are. I'm your host, John Drohan, with my my esteemed partner, my colleague, and my lifelong friend, Jay Marsden, who I feel like I've seen him once all summer.
Oh, that is correct. Yep, that's right. Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you're going to find out where that applause came from right there. For those of you who are deep in the catalog here with Money in the Law, a little surprise on tap.
You're going to find out right now. So we are joined once again. We're back with Holliston Cable Access TV. So we're on TV. Hello, everybody.
Yes.
And who we have on? We have the newest member of the Holliston Cable Access TV team, Mr. Tom Harmon. Tom is here, right?
He's right there. Ably assisted by who?
Another new guy. Oh, he's going to get on.
Look at this. Look at him. Coming from out behind the camera.
There he is.
Ronan the Barbarian. Look at him. Look at that, huh?
He's on TV. Look at him.
Look, it looks like
he's
$1 million. God bless him. Handsome. Look how good looking he was.
Those who are driving right now, pull over. Just pull over for safety purposes.
Please.
Right? And if you're seeing it on TV, pause it.
Hit record right now. Right. This is for posterity's sake.
I don't think I've ever
radio
seen him
and TV
on
gold.
Before.
I don't think I've never seen him enthusiastically run from.
Run.
The only time he would enthusiastically run from behind the camera was when we used to do the Micro Brew review, and he would enthusiastically run to the front to be considered part of the review team. Is what he used to do.
So it's good to be back. It's good to be back. It's
summer hiatus. Back from summer hiatus. We decided to take a little bit of a different, like all the big wigs. We decided to take summer off. Recharge the batteries, right? Kind of come at it from a different approach. So
there's a lot. I mean, there was a couple reasons for that,
and a lot going on. Yeah.
Also because there was a lot going on, and also because like you and I had said, we're going to take this show to the next level, and it starts today.
It does. Yes, it do.
And so So the summer, taking the summer off was probably, it was a good thing for us. I think it was a good thing for for our audience, because remember
for the crew. These guys get exhausted taping and working and taping.
Right. And remember, we hadn't been on cable access for I want to say 6 months, right? So because once the old guy whose name will not be mentioned, because I don't even remember his name. What is that guy's name right now?
Whatever.
All I know, you're telling me it's Christian? All I know is that when Christian was here, there was 2 cameras, 1 guy. Now anyway.
That's all right. Day one.
I just saw Christian the other day.
Walk then run.
By the way, Christian, this is of course our good friend Christian Bidet, who had he is now working in 2 cable access stations. So Christian Bidet is. He's that good, and I saw him the other day. We did the soccer game, and he said, "Please tell Jay I said hello." And I'm saying this on the air.
Sure, I bet he did. Yeah.
So so everybody kind of needed to recharge and take do some introspective looking at what we were doing and kind of where we wanted to go.
Yeah, a little reflection.
And here we are. So I'm dying to hear about what you've done this summer because I'm sure it's nothing. And it was funny when I saw you actually tailgating me the other day when you were, trying to circumnavigate the Holliston traffic, and I saw that you were once again sporting your Christmas beard, which is a little early because it was early September. I'm like, what's going on?
What is going on? What happened to you?
So I'm dying to find out.
I'll tell you right now. So same as you, we had a very, very busy summer. We rustled both the girls up. Out the door, we turned a gigantic page in the playbook. We've moved on to empty nest status at the home front.
Empty nest are us.
Yes. Dawn and I were talking about it before you walked in late, and we were just catching up on just that whole thing. I mean, that's you and I have talked about this. We talked about this on the show last year before we went on summer break. It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
It's a bigger deal than I thought it was going to be. That's for sure.
Is. I said to somebody the other day, I said, look, it was a big deal. I actually was talking about you. I said, it was a big deal for me. I knew it was going to be a big deal for me. But let me tell you who I knew it was going to be a big deal for. You.
Yeah.
I said, this guy, I think your car only went like 2 places. It went to the school and it went to your office. That's all it did. You were on it was like you were like San Francisco on like a trolley car on rails. You were just doing that thing back and forth, dropping the kids off. If it was
fast forward maybe 10 years where they're really the automatic cars,
yes.
I mean, it would have been
fun. It was on
great.
autopilot. You were just wearing grooves in the road.
Right.
You know?
That's right.
And so is it a bigger deal than you thought? Tell me about, honestly, really.
Yeah. So, in all seriousness, so Haley was I can say it. She's a mess, right?
Yeah.
She was very, very emotional. I mean, she's an emotional person anyway,
Sure.
she's emotional about it. And it was, like, what are we going to do? It's all in the past now. It's never going to be the same. All the things are actually true. That it's not going to be the same, But at the same time, it's good, like it's not, it's like the next chapter. Everybody's got to grow up. So I was spending a lot of time kind of trying to talk her off the ledge and say, look, you know what, it's going to be good, and trying to be positive as best I could. And it was about 2 weeks into it when all of a sudden it's like I came around a corner and someone hit me in the head with a 2x4, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What is and so. So that at that point I kind of like felt sorry for myself for a little while, and it took a little time, and then after about 10, 15 minutes, I'm like, look, this is what it is. It's like life goes on, and you look at the alternative. The alternative is like if they weren't where they wanted to be, and that's what I tell you. The kids are where they want to be. So if they weren't where they want to be, then you'd have something to be upset about, right? So we're very fortunate, and everybody's happy, everybody's doing well. And I've been meaning to ask how my pal Kendall's doing down in New York.
So Kendall's doing great, and Kendall was given she had the good fortune of spending some time with the HCAT folks before she headed out the door, so she did know which end of a camera to look in.
That's right.
So she's down there doing communications and film production. We're going to see her next week for Family Week. The drive down is atrocious, and the drive back is equally atrocious. 3 hours on paper, and it's 8 million hours, real time. So
Long Island's it's crazy. I mean, Long Island, and you could talk to one of our dear friends, Mr. Ken Soares.
He's given me just piles of advice on how to basically go north to go south, go west to go east.
Exactly.
You got to take a boat, and then you got to take a stair lift, and then you got to take a chair lift, and you got two elevators, and just to get there. So that's been interesting. That's and I joke and tell, as a city kid, I'm used to being on something that's got wheels on it for about a bus ride, right?
Yeah.
And then after about that, I start to get a little antsy.
Oh yeah.
And so that's like a long.
That's
for
right.
me, that's a long ride.
Yeah, you guys. I mean, growing up, you guys never went on long trips, right?
No,
big old man, right? I mean, I told you, when we would drive to Cape Cod, it was a 4-hour trip. We'd stop 4 times, right? When you grow up in the city, it's not you don't want to sit in anything for that long.
So
right?
it could be 6 hours. Okay, great, fantastic.
Yeah.
6 hours. We could be in Florida in 6 hours.
That's right. 6 hours in Florida. And
actually,
that's with renting the car.
Actually, I'm going to see my daughter. She's in Ireland, and it's going to be 5 hours.
Oh.
So I'll be in Shannon quicker than I'll be in Long Island.
That's right.
So it's fine. It's all good. It's great. Same thing. The kids get off. Some tears. We had a very hard and fast rule post drop off for about a week or two. No whiskey, no Kenny Chesney. That was all banned.
I thought you were going to say no calling or anything.
No,
that's
hardcore. We just didn't want to dive too deep into those type of the emotional kickstarters. We want to stay away from those.
You got to stay low.
We had to lock those up and hide the key for a while. So we've worked through that. Now we're
whiskey
back
on your cereal today?
Yep,
No,
that's right.
No,
that's
I'm just going to hold on.
Just making me think of the girls again. It's so
I'm going to wait till next Wednesday.
That song. Yep, that's right. Yep.
Right. Do you want to listen? Was it country station on? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Some 80s pop on. Poor MC Hammer, so I don't cry.
I even cry with MC Hammer, though. Yeah.
I cried that I used to listen to it. But anyway, so there we are. So that's good. So it's all good. Everyone's where they're supposed to be.
And how's Ireland?
Happy. Great. Yep. I don't know if she's going to class, but she's been to O'Brien's, O'Sullivan's, O'Riordan's,
all the O's. All the O apostrophe places.
Yep. I don't know if those are her teachers or that's the list of pubs she's been hitting. It's one of the two.
O'Riordan. That's made up. That's a made up pub. That's not a real one.
So
that's not even an Irish name.
She's having the time of her life. So that's it.
It's funny. So my oldest, you remember Lily? She did a semester.
I do remember Lily. Yes.
In Ireland as well, and I was concerned about the same thing. I'm like, so are you going to school? But here's one of the secrets about that one semester in Ireland. I think it's optional. I don't think you have to spend as much time in class in Ireland. And again, God bless our countrymen, right? They get it, right? They're
I think school is a suggestion.
I don't think it's no. It's like you're in school and you go to school and we are at school and you're taking classes, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to actually take the class.
That's
You
right.
don't have to.
That's right.
You don't have to take the time.
That's right.
You know. So
that's right.
I want to
That's
say
right.
that Lily spent time in school. She spent plenty of time not in school.
We have a transcript. She was there.
Yeah, and she graduated from college. So it applied. The credits transferred.
Yeah.
And
she timed it well because she's in Ireland for this semester. She comes home on December 23rd, and she turns 21 on December 24th.
That's right.
So she's got that whole thing lined up. She's got the planets perfectly lined up.
That's good. That's a good play. That's a good play for her.
It's a good move. Good move on her part.
23,
Hats off. 24.
That's good.
Well played. That's a golf clap right there. Well played.
Riley, you know what you're doing. Yep. I've always said
she paid attention.
She knows what
she paid attention.
She paid attention.
Yep.
All right.
So, all right. I know we have some important stuff to talk about. The market's just been so helpful.
Great.
Cooperating with everybody.
Yeah,
everyone's
the summer's been wonderful.
Yep. Everyone's loving their 401k. Yep. So
has anybody done any estate planning?
The government just giving away nursing home care. Just giving it away. Yep. It was in all those bills that were passed by Congress. Now it's free. It's free now. So
it's not as expensive as it used to be. Right.
Yep.
All right. So we'll come back. We'll start talking about some of the stuff that we usually talk about.
Well,
maybe some of the new stuff. But I'm excited to kind of get back to work. I'm excited.
It's time to go. Roll sleeves up.
I'm excited to get back to work. All right. So. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. If you were driving, you can get back on the road now because the exciting part of the show is the super crazy part has now passed. We're not going to get down to business. So get back on the road. Pay attention. Both hands on the wheel. And
you know what? When you were driving around, what happened today was this: people were driving around today. They turned the radio on at 11 o'clock. They heard that the show's back on post-summer hiatus.
Yeah.
It's like driving around when there's not a lot of traffic and a Whitesnake song comes on, right? And you just
can't
automatically...
You can't shut it off.
You just start driving faster.
Yeah,
you just start driving faster.
And when they find out that it's new, right, because I actually listened to last week's broadcast on Saturday, and it was like in the spring. And don't get me wrong, it was really good.
Of course it was
very entertaining, and I learned a lot because I'd forgotten what we talked about. I actually forgot what I said. But it was really good. We very entertaining. But because it's in the spring, you're like, you're like, that's not real. That's not now. That's not now. So right now, all you diehard fans out there that are listening.
Yep. All right.
Here we go. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
And we're back. Money in the Law, My FM 101.3. Jay Marsden with the Marsden Law Group. John Drohan, Main Effort Financial, my co-host and lifelong friend. And here we are getting after it once again. Money in the Law 2.0, talking about all things money, all things law. And for those of you who missed us, you get to see our smiling, happy faces. I have a little more face to look at this summer because of a very aggressive summer down at Cape Cod. Making sure I track down everything. Every clam plate I could find, and mission accomplished. Let's just take a look and say mission accomplished.
You look great. You look fine.
Good stuff. So here we are.
Timeless. What I was going to say, what about and of course we're joined with House of Cable Access, which is again, and Don Cronin is in the room, right? Don Cronin. So for those of you, and we didn't really talk about this, for the real fans, like the fans that go back more than 10 years, this is how it all started, right? It was you, me, and that guy there.
Yes.
Yep. Was drinking beer on Saturday mornings, doing the show live.
Yep.
It was,
and then running out and coaching soccer games. Fantastic.
Were we drinking beer? We were looking at it. We were evaluating.
You know what? Everybody plays today. Everybody plays today. Coach is in a great mood. I just did the radio show. Everybody plays. I
remember that first season was a great season.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know what happened.
We also. And what about the other thing? We had some other royalty in here too. Of course, we had Ray.
Yep.
Ray was here, and it was good to see Ray. But what about
our fearless leader?
Our fearless leader made a cameo appearance.
He was handing out tchotchkes. He was handing out cigars, which is what I really love him for. And I'll probably smoke that on the way to the next meeting.
Right, because we need this.
Shout it off from the rooftops.
This is an important point we're going to need to make sure you remember this. We'll use that. Actually, that makes sense. So the one and only Tom McAuliffe came in, our Grand Poobah leader here at WMRC.
Yep, he's on the front page of the Quest for the Best brochure right now. That clearly,
did he autograph that?
Well, he did autograph it, but it clearly had some touch-up work done. So obviously, I don't think.
Unfortunately, we can't put that.
Yep, can't put that on the radio, but
we can't put that.
They definitely photoshopped a couple of chins out of there.
I don't think we can put that because I think what this says, it says J.
It says, be
and then
successful.
I don't think GFY means be successful.
No,
but
it does. It does mean that. That's exactly what it means. It means
in Gaelic.
It's an encouraging. It's a Gaelic encouragement slogan. That's right. I can't say it. My Gaelic is rusty, but that's what it means.
That's right. I can't. I lose a little bit of translation.
Yeah, but it's motivating. Whatever it is, it's motivating. Very motivating.
All right.
So what's on your mind?
So here's what's on my mind. And here's what's probably on everybody's mind. So we can talk about the stock market. We can talk about kind of all of the market. The Nasdaq's been down 26% since the beginning of the year.
Yep.
That all of the everything that kind of people are like, well, we thought that the market was going to kind of, we weren't surprised that it ebbed downward, right?
Sure.
We kind of anticipated this. Yep. And you and I talked about this in the fall, and we said, we're positioned, your position, we both are, all of the portfolios that we are positioned kind of to ride that through, right? And to take advantage of opportunities come. So, there's all that. And can anybody put their finger on exactly why the stock market's doing this? No. It's almost like we're sitting in this perfect storm of things that have happened, but nothing like super. I mean, granted,
it's a perfect storm of weird things because in and of themselves, they would actually, in some respects, be positive news, right? But it's this weird confluence of events that makes things a little weird. And I think there's one thing that's kind of standing out a little bit.
Is it the invasion of the Ukraine?
That's part of it. It also begins with I. Yep, that's right. That's right. Yep.
Is it investments?
That's not investments. No.
Is it
close?
Is it
some of the letters?
Interest rate? Is it the interest rate?
It could be that.
Is
it could be that.
Well, all things are being blind, but I think I know what you're talking about because I happen to have this right here.
Homework.
It's called inflation.
Yes.
Right. So
that thing.
And it's brand new. It's never happened before. It's a new thing. It's a new concept in financial planning.
It's a new invention.
Right. It's a new right. We're guys are just figuring out. It's almost like when they, when like the wormhole, like in space, like these guys are. Oh my God! Like there's a black hole. We can invert time and stuff like that. Yeah. Inflation, which all that means is that things are more expensive than they used to be.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's something that has begun that it's been here since the beginning of time.
And what's funny, and I'm sure that you can.
I'm being facetious. It's not new. Yeah.
Well, that's my point. I'm sure you have many years worth of stories where you would sit down, you do some planning with a client, and you say, well, we're going to build an inflation calculation into some of the decisions that we're making and some of the assumptions that we're kind of pulling through. And so you'd come in with some number, some 3%. Just pick a number, right?
Yeah, you make it up.
That's right. And somebody would say, well, I mean, 3%, it's like 2%. And you're like, no, it hasn't always been this low. Like, it could go up. And then we always have a story, right? I remember my first mortgage was 8.8.
Bread, right? Bread.
Yep,
it always comes back to bread, right?
Loaf of bread cost, a stamp. People talk about stamp.
Stamps
used to
and
be a
bread.
dime, nickel, quarter of it. So eventually, but they would still never think it was real. They would never think it was going to come back.
You know
right?
why? Because the post office messed that all up. Because the post office started making those forever stamps. And
they
say inflation proof, right?
That's right.
That's right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where inflation goes. These things are forever.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Genius.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that was always the assumption. You sit down and you talk to clients about the inflation component, how it impacts your spending your spending power, and everybody always say the same thing: 2% forever. Well, not down 2% forever. There were years that was pretty high. Well, no, but we fixed that problem. We fixed that problem.
But
Nobody's
it wasn't
worried
even
about
that, right? It was like, yeah, 2%, but I don't care.
Right?
Yeah, 2%.
No, nobody cared.
Nobody cared, and you and I have talked about this over the years. I mean, this is something that it's so real, like it's a real thing. And now, because the inflation rate as of the end of August is at 8% and change, 8%, 8+, right? And now all of a sudden people are like, oh my God, inflation. It's been going on since when we've been talking about it since we started.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where people, when they particularly when you talk about retirement planning, when you talk about like your fixed income, and you're gonna say, this is how much income, this is how much money I'm gonna need to live on per month for the rest of my life, and you're like, look, you need to be able to.
That number has to go up.
It has to have the capability to go up, right?
Yep.
And remember, the only way things are going to go up, the only way things are going to get better, the only way things are going to go from point A to point B is, especially in the investment world, is you have to assume some risk, right? You have to assume some risk, or you can just use kind of hope as a course of action.
You can assume no risk. You just need to understand what assuming no risk means, right? Assuming no risk always meant
exactly.
No risk always meant even when inflation was low, you're still losing because of inflation, right?
Yeah.
And you did give people a real rate of return, and they were either running in
no
place
one gets that.
or they were losing some money, but they didn't care because they were losing 1%, right? Okay, fine, I really don't care.
But they didn't see it. They didn't see the money.
Right.
They didn't see it on their statement. So they have their statement, and they're like, okay, my bank account still says $100,000. It's not any lower, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
However, in 10 years, your $100,000, you have lost money than what you had from 10 years.
And they would
before.
say, "No, John, I still have $100,000." You'd say,
read the numbers, right?
Let's go back to the bread. Let's talk bread. Let's talk bread. Bread and stamps. Bread and stamps, right? It's same conversation. So now that number or that concept is literally hitting people over the head.
Yeah, because it's high, and because we've kind of had this kind of wave of inflation. Of course, it's making a huge difference, and you combine that with kind of coming off of the post-COVID piece, right, where everybody is, where the employment world it's a different world. There's some people that are doing great. There's some people that have come out of this with flying colors, and they're now even better. They're making as much money or more money than they were before, and they're working at home.
Yeah, and they're not commuting, that's right. That's right.
So they're like, whoa, this is the best thing ever. And then there's other people that don't get to work at home and have to work still in like kind of the post-COVID, COVID's not gone away environment.
Right. Might have to go into the work, might have to not, in the office, out of the office, more in the office than out fighting that battle.
Yeah, or you're working in a hospital and you're like, this is nothing has changed. Nothing has changed for me except it's worse.
Yep.
Because I have to my patient is now COVID positive, so I have to wear all like my hazmat gear and all that stuff, right? So now we're in this place where things are different coming out of the post-COVID world, and inflation is high.
Right.
And inflation is particularly high, and when inflation gets high, that's where people start to take notice of things. You take notice of everything, right? Oh, yeah. Think about it. Think about throwing the other piece of there's not enough stuff. Right, the supply chains. There's breaks in the supply chain,
which would normally contribute to inflation, but now it's even worse, right? So now inflation's going crazy, and you can't get half the stuff you wanted to get. So all those projects that you had budgeted for 6 or 8 months ago, that took 6 or 8 months to get your supplies. You want that new deck put on. You need some roofing done. Well, now the job just got requoted for you because the materials are all through the roof.
Gets requoted while you're sitting there waiting for it to happen, waiting for your guy to show up.
Yep. Or they're building into the contract. They say, look, the quote is good. It's good. This quote is good for this window of time, about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And there's a taillight guarantee on this. And when you can't see my taillights anymore, I'm coming back with a new quote. That's how it works, right? So this is what they're doing.
So why? So this is real, and this is kind of what we're talking about with people right now. So, and this is, I'm sure, the same thing that you're talking about. So, what is it? What are some of the steps that people need to start taking in order to kind of get around this? In order to be able to manage us, excuse me.
That's all right. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Are you asking me, or is that rhetorical?
I'm asking you. I'm asking kind of where you guys, what your coaching system is right now.
So our coaching system it always goes back to the same things. Control what you can control, right? That's what we go back and tell everybody. Look, I don't know. We all can guess what we think the Fed's going to do. We can all guess what we think the response to the changes of whatever the Fed's going to do with interest rates. So we all go back to
that's another thing. We'll talk about that, right? Yeah.
But we always go back to, what do you need? Basically, what's your story, right?
Yeah.
Is this money you need anytime soon? Is this money you don't need anytime soon? Are we still on a 5-year, 7-year, 10-year, 2-year? What's our track for this? And then what's our track for this is going to basically drive how we respond to this. Because, why? Because we talked about this before, and we said, look, inflation's low now, and it may not always stay low. The market may be up now. It may not always do as well as it's going to do. So let's focus on the things that we can control. Yeah. That's where we start the conversation.
I like that. I like how you kind of look at it in the time frame, and you look in that time space. Okay, when do I need money now? And not looking at it as just like this instant, this moment in time, just like right now. Because if we start thinking in just like those short terms, like oh my God, the market's down and inflation's up, and and my pay, I haven't had a pay increase. You're kind of look at it like in this instant, things don't look so good. But remember, when you with any kind of financial planning, you have to look at it. You have to kind of rise up and get like that 30,000 foot view and be able to say, okay, here's where we are now, but I'm not so concerned about this as much as I am where I'm going to be in 4 years, 5 years, 10 years.
Yep.
And so when we look at our investment plan and your investment play through this, it comes back to, remember when we started that we said, okay, there is risk involved in your portfolio.
Yep.
And the reason that we can take risk in this is because you don't need this money right now.
Correct.
Right? If you needed the money right now, then we would have no risk.
Yep.
We would have the only risk.
We're having a different conversation.
Yeah, we have a different but so if particularly for retirement money, you say, okay, look, this is money that you don't need right now. And then even for people who are retired, who are taking money out of it, and they like this is where they're getting their income from, you say, listen, they'll be like, well, my God, you've had this conversation, right? Where clients are like, they're like, I don't like the market. I think I want to get everything out. I want to move everything to the side. And I'm like, if I knew how to time the market, that would be great.
Sure.
But I don't. So, but what I do know is that you don't need all of this money right now.
Right.
So therefore, there's a piece of it that you're going to need now, and that's the money that we can take. And don't worry, you're not losing any money from that. That's sitting in cash. But the money that you're going to need 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that's not in cash. For the one primary reason is that we have to be able to be in a position to grow over time.
Yeah, and it has to grow and it has to outpace inflation, which now has gone up.
And it's not guaranteed, right?
That's right.
And this is the risk, right?
Yep.
This is where the risk comes in. It's not guaranteed, but you have to be there, because if you don't, then all you are doing is you're simply losing money, because inflation's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I have my rates right here. So if I look at this goes back to 2015. So the annual rate in 2015 was 0.12%. That was the average the inflation rate of 2015.
Negligible.
Yeah, negligible. And people are like, inflation, keep the money.
Sure, yeah, keep talking about inflation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's like talking about Bigfoot. It doesn't exist. It's not around.
Right. And then Bigfoot, there were a couple sightings in 2016 where it was 1.26. And then 2017, I think someone mentioned Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. I don't know if they fought, but they may have waved to each other. I don't even know Bigfoot was in Scotland, but that's 2.13, 2.44. Then in 2019, it's down a little bit. Now, remember 2019? Remember what a great year that was?
Yeah,
remember how it was like shaping up? It was like, this is crazy. It's going to be so much fun. 2019 is awesome, right? And then the fall of 2019, they're like, what's it? There's something going on in China?
Something happening overseas. I don't know what it is. Shouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah,
we talked about it on the show back then. We said we built a lot of things into our 2020 business plan.
Yeah.
Global pandemic was not one of them.
No.
Wasn't in a lot of plans. Wasn't in a lot of plans.
Global shutdown of economies was not built into that.
No.
Right? So then in 2019, 1.81, 2020, you're like, whoa, 2020 was the crazy year because, all right, we're just going to, anything that is going wrong, we're just going to put money on it, right? Or you don't feel good, put some money on them, right? Yeah. Or
everything worked.
Money, right?
The government just sat one of those money guns, just shot it across the country.
It was like the T-shirt guns, right?
Yeah.
And then in 2021, 4.7. Like, whoa. What's that?
That's good.
That's like Bigfoot put his hand on my shoulder, right?
Hold on.
Whoa, get away, Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And then and now in 2022, up through August, we're at 7.14% through the month of August.
So rounded up to 8 and change.
Right, 8 and change. So here you are. You're like, this is, inflation's a real thing, and who knows what's going to happen.
And by the way, that's the blended rate, right? I mean, they're like, so that blended rate is made up of
that doesn't mean
100 different commodities, right?
Yeah.
Or more than 100, but tons of commodities. So inside that
number,
number,
even include bread. May not even include bread
and stamps.
Like,
But inside that rate, something went up 20%,
Yeah.
something went up 10%, something went up 2%, something went down. But that's the result of it. So in general, you're
That's
probably feeling
point.
it, and you're feeling it. I mean, gas was over $5 for a while. So the housing costs. I mean, everything is and it's regional, right? And then to break that down. So there's some nuance to those numbers depending on where you are, what you're doing, what you're spending your money on. So again, your experiences may be slightly different than this, better or worse. But this is the big picture. This is the macro look at the whole thing.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. I'm going to talk about some of the things that we're doing as well to kind of position this and frame this up, and then and we'll just keep rolling. We'll keep rolling here on Money in the Law, which is back finally after the summer hiatus here on my FM 101.3 and the Holliston Cable Access TV with our 2 cable access stars here. Don't go anywhere. Don't you go anywhere.
I'm going to be right here. I can't go anywhere. I'm here for another half hour by contract.
We will be. You look great. Yeah. We'll be right back.
And we're back. Money in Law, My FM 101.3.
Who, me? Oh,
Jay
no.
Marsden with the Marsden Law Group. John Drohan talking about his favorite subject himself. And we're here with HCAT, and it's our first day back after summer hiatus. We're all feeling a little giddy today. We're all feeling a little excited about being back. You know,
not as giddy as St. Patrick's Day.
A couple of Colts bouncing around the yard. Oh, but that's St. Patrick's Day. That was
that's coming. That's right around the corner.
That was a different level of giddiness. That was some Tully giddy. That was a little crazy that day. But here we are talking about inflation. Inflation is as high as our spirits today. It's very exciting about that. And we wrapped up we talked about the summer. We talked about what everybody's plans were. Don made a guest appearance on the other side of the camera,
showing off his new T-shirt.
Which shocked all of us, and he looks good in it. The blue matches his eyes and mine.
Speaking of T-shirts, so here's the offer right now.
Please tell.
For the next, pick a number. 1, 2.
Minutes, days. What do we?
Just pick a number. Just any number. Just rando.
5.
Okay, for the next 5 emails that we get sent to the website at moneyinthelaw.net, you know what you're going to get? Guess what they're going to get?
I think I know.
You're going to get a Money in the Law T-shirt.
But the email has to be a question.
It's got to be a question.
The email has to be something that we can answer on air. Yeah. Not like, who's buried in Grant's tomb, none of that stuff, right?
So when Kahara sends a question, right, and we're not even allowed to say on the air much.
Who's the greatest softball player? Look at this. He's modeling it. Here's the runway right here. Look at him.
Sexy thing, you. Look at you go.
So too sexy for my shirt, I believe, is the line
for
there.
That shirt,
Let's go. Ray,
that sky blue shirt. Ray,
so
put that on as our background.
5 questions to the website, 5 legitimate questions that we can ask, things that you want to know the real answer to.
You get a real Money in the Law shirt.
Yep, and you'll get a real shirt, and we'll give you some made-up answers.
Some makeup, and we'll give you the right answers.
That's right.
Give you the real
That's
answers.
That's right.
All right, so we're talking right now. We're talking about inflation and kind of, this is one of those things that has kind of driven, that it's, as we're talking about the perfect storm of kind of where we are right now.
Yeah.
Inflation's real. Is it a game changer? Like, is inflation the reason that the market has dropped as much as it has in the beginning of the year? No, it is not. It's not the sole reason.
Hasn't helped.
No, it hasn't. No, you're right. It hasn't helped. That's not the. Just because inflation goes up doesn't necessarily mean that because remember the market's kind of driven by economic growth and economic, and the development of companies and people spending money. I mean, all of that kind of plays into the fact of kind of what the engine behind market movement. So. The fact that inflation is up, it doesn't help, and the fact that it's up considerably, it's particularly for consumers, it's like one of these things where now I'm thinking, I'm second guessing whether or not we're going to buy a new house. I'm second guessing whether we need a new car right now, or I'm second guessing whether I'm going to be able to what college I'm going to be able to send my kid to, or
at some point it starts to affect your purchasing decisions where. Right. We've talked about this before. Where 3 or 4 years ago, the car purchase, it was like 5 years, 0% down, interest.
No brainer.
We just give you the car.
Finance.
Just buy the car. Just buy the car. Finance it. We're not going to charge you anything. It's free money, right? It's free money. Now it's not free money. Now it's going to cost you some money to borrow some money, and it's getting a little painful. So that makes people really start second guessing their decisions.
So that's where I was going with this. So not only is your car more expensive, right? So particularly your used car, right? Driven by the supply chain and by the fact that that they can't make cars as fast as they used to.
Oh, they're missing components and all that stuff. Yeah.
And right with all the chip play, all the computer chip play that happened all through the summer. Now. Go buy it for those of you who have gone and recently bought a car, and you're looking. Okay, well, I'm looking at a 2022 RAV4, and that costs $31,000. And I only know this because I've recently seen this.
Right.
$31,000. Guess how much the 2019 RAV4 and for those of you who like old guys like us, right, and Don as well. Not that you're old,
right?
But in the old days, remember when you used to go buy a car and I'm buying a used car and I'm going to haggle till the sun goes down.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
Right, and it was fun, right? I mean, it was great. You should go back and talk to your manager about this.
Go at the end of the month. Make sure you go late in the day. You're going to strong on this guy into the deal of your lifetime.
Right? Come with your checkbook. Just tap your checkbook on
Be willing to walk out. Be willing to walk out.
Yeah, walk out. Walk out over $50.
Yep.
No, I'm leaving. Right. That's not how it works anymore. No, that's particularly in the used car market. And the used car market, they're like, yeah, this is how much it costs. If you walk out, it's going to cost more tomorrow.
Yeah.
And guess what? Someone's going to buy it. Don't worry.
It won't be here tomorrow.
Yeah,
don't worry.
Don't worry.
Now's your chance.
That's right. If it's not here, if it's here tomorrow, it's going to cost more.
Yeah.
And most likely, though, it's going to get sold. It'll get sold before the end of the day.
Yep.
That's how used cars work today. So back to my RAV4. 2022, $31,000. 2019, 30,000 miles. $28,900. Yeah. Like $1,900 difference.
Yep.
And you're like, what's like? It's insane.
Yeah. They're running out. They run the. You can't get them. You can't get them.
And the reason is because we'll say, well, then why don't you just buy the new car? And you're like, well, you can, but you're going to wait 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
If it's not on the lot,
lucky,
if it's not on the lot, forget it.
You're waiting 8 weeks, and they'll tell you, they'll say, it's almost like like shark tracking. Like, well, we know this is going to, in September it's going to hit the Nashville, Tennessee plant. This is when the tires are going to get put on, right?
When's the last time I have about a new car out of the book, and I couldn't tell you how long. I just walk up and say, if this is the one I want, and I'll take it. Great.
So
I haven't customized my car.
So we did. So one of the things, and again, we're very proud of this at Main Effort Financial. Sometimes there are some clients that need a little help, and particularly some of the clients that we've known for a while, and
Sure.
they'll be like, and they'll say to me, and when they say the words, I hate buying a car, I'm like, whoo-hoo. I go, I'm your guy, because I love
cancel my appointments.
Exactly. I like Monday. Meet me at the Toyota dealer. So I love buying, and I always have. And for some reason, I've never, because I get it, right? Because you've done sales.
You're a
before.
sales guy. You've sales guy your whole life.
Get it.
Of course, you get it.
You get it, right? And so these guys, and it's funny because they'll be like, well, they'll try. They give you all the tactics and. And so they do all these things, and there's all that kind of. And back in the old days when you could actually haggle,
yeah.
it was actually really fun because you felt like you were getting some from it, right?
Yeah.
Now now you just say, they're like, do you want the car? And you're like, yes. And then then it still takes a long time. It still took me like 2 hours.
And then you start asking for stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the guy just turns around and picks up the phone. Yeah, he doesn't even anymore. I don't want the undercarriage done, and I want the seats. I want this. I want this. Yep. Yeah.
Can I have a steering wheel with that
Hello?
car? They're like,
hello.
We'll see. Yep.
1 second, sir. I got a hot one on the line here.
So,
yep.
So
it's a different animal.
So again, the inflation piece has played into the car buying theme, but then you also mentioned the other part of this, the other part of what I wanted, the other kind of factor that is kind of playing into, kind of our economic situation right now, and that is, you mentioned the Federal Reserve, the interest rate.
Oh,
and guess
that's
what?
right, those guys.
The interest rates have gone up. The Feds
have.
for how long have we been saying it, right? We've been saying it for what, 9 years now? At least
forever.
At least 9 years. We're like, hey, be careful. The interest rates are going to come up, and so when they got to raise the interest rates. I mean, right now a mortgage is 3% for a 30-year mortgage. The interest rates have to come up. Right now, our savings account is like 0.5% is what at some point the interest rates are going to come up, and so the Feds. Now kind of the market starts to go down, and the Feds are like, okay, and now is the time we need to tighten the belt for everybody.
Hang on 1 second. Remember all that free money we were laying around? Yep. Guess what? Not anymore. Not anymore.
And
quantitative easing? Nope.
And again, this is for kind of some historical perspective on this. This is all driven by kind of what's happened in 2020, and this is when the government came in, which they did, they had to do it, and they did it pretty well.
Yep.
When the government came in and kind of saved, like we floated the economy,
to keep the economy going. They basically extended them one gigantic credit line.
Yeah, and by doing that, by like you said, like that fire hose of money that everybody and businesses and individuals and all the people that couldn't work and all the people that their jobs were affected, everything that the government did, that the trillions of dollars that went in to kind of float the American, not only American but also the global economy, that there's a price tag for that.
Well, I think I know the percentage, but I want to make sure. What percentage of the U.S. economy is consumer demand? It's like 70% of the U.S. economy.
It's
consumer demand, right?
I mean, 3/4 of the.
It's people spending money, right?
Yeah.
So if everybody stops spending money because they don't have any money, the economy grinds to a halt. This is what happened in 2020. Grinds to a halt, right? Nobody's spending any money on anything, right? Everyone's sitting home buying on Amazon. Thank God, right? To keep things moving. Great for Amazon, but keep things moving.
Who's not a sponsor, however they should be.
Not a sponsor.
Because after this plug that they just got, their business is probably going to...
Well, but the idea was if you're not spending money, the economy's not doing anything, right? It's 3/4.
That's it.
It's a huge percentage.
That's it.
So to your point, if they're laying out free money, people can keep on spending, keep the economy going, get them through a rough patch.
Yeah, and it wasn't like it wasn't frivolous spending. Like people were spending money on stuff,
toilet paper if you can find it.
Right. So, but again, because of and then because of the fact, and then the other piece of this. Remember, the interest rates were extraordinarily low. So people, there were people that were buying property, and and they were getting a 30-year loan for under 3%.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Or it was crazy.
So all of this kind of was happening. So this all happened, and the government just funneling money into the economy. At some point, there's going to be. If you dump, think about it, right? If you have like a million jelly beans, right? And you're like, you have a million jelly beans, and then you put 10 million more on top of it. Those jelly beans, they're not worth as much as they were before.
No,
right?
no.
So what happens is, with all that money that gets pumped into there, now that's what drives, and that's why your inflation numbers are so high. And then the feds say, oh, not only do we, in an effort to kind of combat the inflation piece, the interest rates. There has to be a way. There has to be a way for the government to make money. There has to be a way for banks to make money. There has to be a way for the United States government to make money. So therefore, they raise the interest rates, and by raising the interest rates, if a bank, if you take a loan out from a bank, they're going to be able to make more money. And that's just the way. That's the way the economy is driven. That's the way growth is driven, because all growth is kind of driven through people. You have to be able to finance things. Businesses have to be able to finance things. So
right, but businesses have to be able to finance things. But if everything that they're buying costs more money, they're passing potentially those anticipated increases in their costs onto their customers, because their supplies to produce whatever they produce cost more money. So it kind of all flows downstream.
So here we are. We have the highest inflation rate we've seen in I don't know how many million years, and then we have now we have the inflation rate the interest rate has gone up. So currently the interest rate for a 30-year mortgage is now up over 6 and change.
6 1/4. Just looked it up. 6.25.
0.25%. Which, I mean, if you think about it, if you had a client that was paying a 30-year mortgage at 6.25%, you'd be like, what? Or if you a year ago.
Well, when rates were 2.5, you'd be like, you're leaving money on the table. But in the same conversation, even with that same person, they will tell you, I remember when I bought my house, blah, 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 however long ago, my rate was 9% or 11%.
Or I refinanced to 9%.
So 6%. And I think we've talked about this in the show before. My first mortgage was 8.8%.
Yeah.
And I'm not 100 years old. I mean, that was 18 years ago, 19 years ago. And at the time, you refinance. I think the phrase is you marry the mortgage and you date the rate. That's the phrase right there. Right?
Write that one down.
Write that one down, everybody. We're going to put that on the next Money in the Law. We're going to go asset class specific on the next set of Money in the Law T-shirts. So you're going to get a little tagline for each one of them.
Yeah, that's going to be the real estate.
But that was the idea. That was the idea.
So the idea. I love that. I love the fact that you're in a position now where a year ago you're like, oh my God, my interest rate is so low, and now people are like, well, I can't afford to buy that house. I can't afford that mortgage, right? And maybe I don't have the cash to be, and that's the whole thing about if you want to buy a $500,000 house, but you can't afford a $400,000 mortgage, then you have to come up with more money. So I love the idea that that we're in this position where we have to look at things where not everything's free anymore.
You have to think differently.
Not everything is going to be kind of handed to you from a financial standpoint, and you have to be able to kind of make decisions and make plans. Not just like I said, we were saying where you live in the moment, but kind of think things out 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years.
Right.
And by doing that, then by being strategic, because that's if I think in the near term that's more tactical, but if I'm being strategic and saying, okay, I know I want to move, I know I want to get a different house.
Yeah.
Here's what I have to do in order to get that.
Well, you bring up a great point. There will be opportunities still out there.
Yeah,
still
there
available.
is, yeah.
But you have to look at them differently, right? And to your point, you may have to make some decisions that are maybe outside of what would be considered your more conventional approach to certain things. Again, look at them, understand the objectives, understand the risk factors, but there may be some things that you might have to do a little bit differently. This is where working with your advisors, talking to the folks at Main Effort, they can come up with a strategy that says, all right, here's how we would do that. A year ago, we would have done this. Things are different now. Now we have to approach this a little bit differently.
And history teaches us some things. So if you go back to
Don't start a land war in Asia.
Well, there's one.
Okay.
But if you go back to when the real estate market fell, and back in 2008 when you had like that, when all of that happened.
Oh, sure.
And remember prior to that, people were buying houses that they couldn't afford.
Oh yeah,
they were buying things because the banks were able to give them. They were giving them loans.
They were giving loans, handing out money.
There were
that's
all
right.
those ninja loans that were out there,
that's
right?
Yeah,
everybody was and so. You thought, okay, well, I mean, obviously, I make enough money. The bank says I make enough money in order to have this $500,000 loan.
Well,
which
the bank says it must be okay.
Which by the way, I owe this house is worth $500,000 when I buy it. However, when the financial crisis happens, now all of a sudden that house isn't worth $500,000 anymore. It's worth $400,000, but I owe $500,000. So therefore, I find myself underwater. So. This is why, kind of when you look back at those situations, now, those are our lessons learned. Here we are. You apply things that you learn, to today's day and age. You don't overextend. You don't say, hey, listen, I'm going to buy this house, even though because I think the interest rates are going to come back down.
Well, what's funny is the rules aren't that different. I mean,
no.
They're for the bulk of sort of the way you approach things. The rules are still the same, right? When do you think you'll need the money? What's your risk tolerance? What's your time frame? So yes, you're going to still, for the bulk of the way you approach things, you're going to kind of play by the same rules. Does that mean that there's not a carve out for some opportunity because things are a little bit different in some setup? Yes, that opportunity still exists out there, but you're not diving all in.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't have done in 2008, like you would have done in 1994, like you wouldn't have dove all in. You would say, this is the house money that I'm willing to play around with.
Or if you are willing to dive all in, you understand the risk.
Absolutely.
Right? You understand that there could be a greater risk. And we always talked about this on the show, like the difference between a risk and a gamble. Risk is something that it's a calculated understanding of what happens if things don't work out the way I plan. It's not going to take me off my trajectory. It's not going to take me off my glide path of my goal of retirement and whatever my long-term goal is. The gamble, on the other hand, that could throw me off because if that doesn't work out the way I expect, now I may have to make adjustments along the way. I may have to do something that I wouldn't ordinarily do. I always use the example of like people who are retired, right? So
sure.
If someone's retired and you take a gamble and things don't work, you decide I'm going to put all my money on this stock or I'm going to put all my money into this commercial real estate investment, and that doesn't work out. Guess what? You might not be retired anymore. You might be going back to work because you don't have the wherewithal to be able to generate income.
Well, from the law side of the house, if you're asked to sign a waiver anytime you're doing something, you want to understand that there's probably a fair amount of risk behind that waiver. That's I mean, and by the way, I mean you might not have had them sign a waiver, but you're making notes, right?
Sure.
You're talking to your client and you're saying, look, you need to understand there's risk and this is gambling. This is a gamble. And by the way, the fact that we had this conversation, that we're gambling, is going right into our client note file because if something goes wrong, and it very well could, we want to make sure that we've documented exactly that you understand the risks that we're undertaking by choosing to go down this path.
Yeah, and it's not, it's not like a, cover your fourth point of contact kind of thing at all. It's like, well, I mean, from the legal side, yeah.
Again,
but it's also about, look, as an individual, you want to get from point A to point B.
Sure.
You want to. These are the goals you want to achieve. And people say that, like, yeah, I want to be a millionaire. I'm like, okay, so do I. Like everybody does, right? Everybody wants to have a lot of money, but here's at what cost and at what risk and what how are you going to, if you think you're going to be able to get there,
right?
Is it realistic? And then you kind of apply that realism piece to it too. So if you have a client that's like, look, I need, I have $200,000 in my account,
right,
and I need to take $20,000 a month out of this account, right? You're like, okay, you understand that
it's math. Let's start doing some math.
Theoretically, there could be something that that we could maybe invest in, that you could get that kind of return on. I don't know what it is, but
that guy comes in my office, I send them right down the street to you.
Yeah.
You know who you want to go talk to? You know who you want to go talk to?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I got a guy.
And then
I got a guy.
Then I send him down the street to the other guy. Yeah, because
no, but that's a real thing. I mean, this conversation, when you're talking about goals and objectives and risk, and you're talking about income versus capital appreciation, and when you're talking about withdrawals of principal, this all feeds into those conversations about understanding that yes, you could get we could get 20% out of your portfolio. We could get you $20,000 out of your $200,000 portfolio
for this
every
long.
month for the next month until October.
Yeah,
and then in November you have a problem, right? That's the old joke, right? I have plenty of money to live on as long as I die tomorrow, right? This is the scenario that you're having with people. This is the conversation that you're having, and what factors into that is the inflation. Where's the market going to go? What are rates going to look like? All that's part and parcel of that conversation.
So the big takeaway from today is like, look, the market has kind of is feeling the effects of all the things that have happened kind of since the beginning of the year. The fact that inflation has more than doubled from last year.
Yep.
The fact that the Feds have raised the interest rates, so the interest rates are up. So everything to borrow money, it costs more money. The fact that there's a conflict that no one really saw or anticipated, which isn't even close to being over, a conflict in Europe that is affecting all of kind of the global economy, particularly in Europe, and then that shoots off into the United States. Particularly
energy prices,
particularly
and things like
energy.
That. Yes. Yep. Yeah.
So all of these things, and then and then people always want to talk about politics. Oh, this is this blah blah blah, and the president's doing I mean, all the politics aside, when you just talk about strictly the economics of what's happening, right? And you can blame whoever you like. The bottom line is that the market is feeling this, and it's from like, it's almost like a cut by 1,000 different knives. Right? There's not one big enormous event that is really pulling down the market, which in a lot of respects, that's a good thing, right? So because there's not one like kind of event that's pulling it down.
Sure.
What that means is that so with all of kind of the negative things we're talking about, there are some positive things that are happening as well.
Well, we diversify for the good, and now we're diversifying for the bad.
Yeah, and there's some positive things that are happening right now, not only in the U.S. economy, but in the global economy as well, which makes, me as a market person, I for the long term, of course, I believe in the market, right?
Sure.
We believe that we kind of make the assumption that the U.S. economy, that the global economy is going to continue, whether it's going to, is it going to go on a straight line? Is it going to go up, every
up and
year?
To the right, up and to the right.
Yeah, I
mean,
that's the million, trillion, gajillion dollar question. But we believe that the economy is the economy is gonna carry us. It's gonna remain
at
stable.
some point, some of these uncertainties become more certain.
Well,
right?
they become more. You accept them, right?
That's right.
And not only do we accept them as people, but economically, the economics accept.
Yeah,
them.
like the Fed at some point might say, "Look, we're done raising rates," right?
Yeah.
Like we're signaling that our rate raising has kind of come to an end, and maybe there's another 25% one baked in there, but we're kind of done. That's something that the market can now chew on that and say, all right, now we have some data, now we have some news, now we know what's going on. That things will start to kind of, to your point, fall into a rhythm. 6.25 as a mortgage, we'll almost start to see normal. People say, I remember when they were 2.5. Yeah. I know you remember when they were 2.5.
They're not.
But the normal range is floating around here, and this is historically what the average is. That was obviously an aberration, and this is our new normal. And then we'll start.
And all that translates to is this is how much it's going to cost for you to borrow. This is what your bottom line number is going to be.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 25% more than what you were paying before for the same
And
loan.
who knows? The house price might be reflected because of that accordingly. So you might end up paying. You
Exactly.
could end up in the same spot, right? So there's going to be some adjustments.
You could end up paying the same money,
That's right.
and then if you were able to save enough money to put a down payment down to kind of offset that. So again, it all just translates into how much it costs, like how much things cost.
That's right. That's
all
right. We get a run.
What a great first.
Huh? Get it.
Yeah. All right. Great first show. Tom, welcome aboard. All right. Yeah, I think Tom's going to be the main guy.
I think Tom's thinking.
Yeah,
I think he likes that.
Tom's
He likes
like,
that microbrew
like,
review
I will be
idea.
down here
I think
every
he's
Wednesday.
thinking that's the good thing for us.
All right, so this is it for our first day back on Monday in the Law.
Post summer hiatus.
Post-summer
I love
hiatus.
it.
Back on Holliston Cable Access TV.
That's it. That's all we got to talk about.
I mean, is there anything else to talk about? All right, we'll see everybody next week.
Next week with something else to talk about.
Saturday morning. All right. On behalf of my buddy Jay Marsden, I'm John Drohan. We'll see you all next week.
Have a great weekend, everybody.